Oh, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Danilo Capric here, aka the best dressed man in tech sales. Don't forget it. Also the co-founder of the B2B Syndicate. And in this video today, what we're going to talk about is what are the different types of account executive roles out there in tech sales? What is the difference? What are the pros and cons? What should you know about these roles before you start applying? That way you can show up with an informed perspective. So with that said, let's get into it so you can get these insights. All right, guys, so if you have not heard of this already, there are two types of account executive roles in tech sales, all right? What they are commonly known as is the hunter AE, right, account executive, or the farmer AE. Sometimes you have a combination of both. So let's talk about really quick, what are the differences, and let's break down the pros and cons of the hunter AE role versus the farmer AE role. All right, so quickly breaking these down, the hunter AE is kind of what it sounds like. You are actively hunting after net new business, and in most cases, you're doing exclusively that. So that means you do not have a book of existing customers that you're taking care of. No. You are just going after net new business. What this means is more cold calling, more outreach, and less client maintenance, less worrying about renewals, and really just focused on, again, winning as much new business and getting as many new customers as possible. Now, the farmer is also kind of what it sounds like. It is where you are doing the opposite. So instead of hunting after net new business, what you are instead doing is you are farming the existing business. You have customers who are already spending money with you. They already have a contract with you. And your job is to get them to spend more money with you, to renew with you, and to be nice, happy clients. Now, let's break down some of the pros and cons with each of these roles. And to give you guys some perspective here, I've been in tech sales now for 10 years, and I have done both of these roles. So, coming from an informed perspective, here is my unbiased list of pros and cons. So, starting with the hunter AE role. One of the pros with the hunter AE role is that you have a lot more ways to hit quota, right? For example, if you're a farmer and let's say you just have 10 accounts, well, you got to make your number off of those 10 accounts, meaning you only have 10 companies that you can sell to. Whereas if I'm a hunter, maybe I have 100 or 1,000 prospects that I can go after on my list. And that gives me a lot more opportunity to make my number, right? Because I can call on 1,000 companies as opposed to just 10. So that's the first thing to be aware of, is that on the hunter AE side, it's a lot, let's not say easier, but you have more opportunity to hit your quota because it's a bigger number of potential clients that you have to go after as opposed to a smaller number with the farmer AE role. Now, one of the cons for the hunter role, and we'll get into a pro of the farmer role, is that because you're going after net new business and it's just about winning them off, the con is you don't really get the opportunity to form a deep relationship with your customers. And if your goal is to develop, let's say, a book of business where you can have really, really strong relationships and really get to know your accounts, you're gonna have less opportunity to do that in a hunter role, because in most cases, as soon as you close the deal, you then pass that customer off to an account manager or maybe a different kind of account executive who is responsible for farming. So that what that does is it means you don't have that long runway of time to build a relationship with the client. Whereas if you're a farmer, you got all the time in the world to build that relationship. Maybe you go visit them in person, maybe you go to a conference with them, but you have more of a runway to develop a deeper relationship. So if networking is important to you and building a reliable list of contacts who can advocate for you in the future is important, you might want to look more into the farmer AE role. The other pro of the farmer AE role is that because you're on a select few number of accounts, you have an opportunity to deeply learn about your client's business. For example, let's say that you have 10 customers and they're all in the same industry. You, at the end of the year, might become low-key an expert in that industry because guess what? You've been talking to executives in that industry for 12 months, and guess what? You're learning all about that industry in every single call. Whereas if you're a hunter AE, yes, you can still learn about your prospect's business. In fact, you'll have to in order to sell them and give them a good deal, but you don't have, again, as long of a runway to learn about them because, again, as soon as you close the deal, in most cases, you hand them off to someone else. So that's another pro of the farmer AE role, is that you get more of a runway to deeply learn about your customer's business and become a smarter business person at the end of the day. Now, I want to comment on this because I know a lot of people are going to ask about this, but the hunter AE is the role that involves the most cold calling and cold outreach. So if you are uncomfortable with that, if cold calling and all that stuff is not something that makes you excited, it's not what you want to practice or learn, you should probably not go for the Hunter AE role, because that's what that role is all about. But I would say it's a great experience to have, because it'll help you really get good at those skills. And if you can get good at those skills, you will always have a job. So I list it as a con, but I really think it's a pro. So anyways, that's one of the cons for the Hunter AE role, is there's a lot of cold outreach involved. So if you're not about that, then maybe don't look at it. On the other side though, the farmer AE involves zero cold prospecting. In fact, you're doing warm prospecting, because what you're doing, instead of reaching out to new people who've never heard of you before, you are reaching out to current customers, and maybe you're just trying to get wider in the account. Meaning, one person signed the contract and one team is using your software today, but you want more teams to use your software. So you're trying to get wider in the account, meet more people at the company, and turn them, into potential champions for your software product. Now, one of the pros on the Hunter side is that you have nobody to hold you back from contacting different leaders in the organization. I say this because if you are a farmer AE, and let's say, you get handed this account and the VP of technology signed the contract, in most cases, the VP of technology is probably going to stop you from reaching out to other people in the account. That's not always the case. There's definitely cases where I've had customers who are cool with me reaching out because I brought value to them. But in some cases, you might have a contact or a stakeholder who says, hey, just work with me. I maintain this relationship. Don't reach out to anybody else at this company, please. And when you're in a situation like that, it's a little tricky to get wider in the account. And what you have to do instead is really focus on getting the trust and the buy-in from that one person to earn the ability to get wider in the account. So that's a con potentially on the farmer side, is that you might get stuck with one point of contact, whereas on the Hunter side, there's nobody holding you back from reaching out to the CEO, the CFO, whoever you want. Another pro for the Hunter side is that you get the opportunity to create the first impression between the prospect and your company. Meaning that in most cases, this prospect has never heard of you before. Maybe they did a sales cycle in the past, but it didn't go through, so they never really used your product. But here's the thing, they don't, in most cases, have a bad experience, right? So you get the opportunity to form that first experience they've ever had. Whereas as a farmer AE, let's say you are inheriting an account, they've had an experience with your company already. And let's say that something went wrong or something broke, something wasn't so positive, you're gonna have to do work to repair their image of the company, right? If they think that the company is crap or the product is crap or they had a terrible experience in some way, shape, or form, you're gonna have to fix that. So that's a downside of the farmer role and a pro of the Hunter role, in the sense that as a Hunter, you get to help them shape the experience that they have at the company and the impression they have of your company. Whereas that impression and that experience might already be there, and it could be negative if you're on the farming role. Another pro for the farmer side is that typically, not always, but typically you have a lower quota because you have a lower number of customers to sell to, right? And depending on how much contract value is associated with each customer, that is also going to determine your quota. But generally speaking, the Hunters will have higher quotas because they are going after more accounts. So again, this isn't always the case. It can definitely be reversed, right? If you have 10 customers and they all have $1 million of signed contract value with you, most cases you're gonna have a $10 million quota, right? But again, depending on the size of accounts, in most cases, the Hunter will have the higher quota, farmer will have the lower quota. So again, we wanna list that as a pro for the farmer role and a con as the Hunter role. But again, that is not always the case. All right, and the last differentiator here that we'll talk about in terms of pros and cons is when you are a farmer, one of the hardest things to do is to month over month, maybe it's bi-weekly, whatever your cadence is, but you have to find new ways to deliver value to this customer month in and month out in order for them to renew. And coming up with new ways to bring value to your customer that matters, that they think is valuable, not just you, is very difficult. So we're gonna put that as a con, because that is where majority of the mental work, the mental effort you're gonna have to exert is going to focus, because again, your job is to make sure these customers have a good experience and they want to renew, and they're not gonna do that unless you provide value. Pro on the Hunter AE side is that you don't have to focus as much on providing value. You still have to focus on value, of course, to close any deal. So I don't wanna say you don't have to focus on value at all, but again, the emphasis is less there. It's more about a business case, solving a problem, and providing value in that way. Whereas as a farmer, you're gonna have to month over month show up with ideas that are purely value based, that don't really involve a sale until the renewal comes up, or maybe they need a new product that you've uncovered the need for. So that is the final differentiator. As a farmer, you got to focus more on value and be creative. As a hunter, you really just have to problem solve and find a good business reason why they should use your product or service. So there you guys have it. Those are the pros and cons between the hunter and the farmer AE role. Both are great roles. Both will teach you a lot of things, and I don't necessarily recommend one over the other. It just depends on what is your preference, right? If you like the idea of forming deep relationships with customers, being able to go into your cell phone and call a customer 3 years after you worked with them, maybe you want to, again, get recommendations on LinkedIn, whatever it is. But if you're more of a relationship person and you're not really into the fast transactional stuff, maybe it's better to be a farmer. If you don't like the idea of maintaining clients, having to come up with value ideas month after month, and you're more about just making the commission checks and more of the financial part, and you don't really care for the relationships, then definitely go on the hunter side, right? So just think about what type of person you are, what really interests you in sales, why you want to be in sales in the first place, and use that justification to determine which side you land on. So there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video for today. You know a little bit more about the types of AE roles out there, and you're better equipped to understand which one is right for you. Now, with that said, hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, please hit the subscribe button below. Also, if you're not doing so already, go follow me on LinkedIn. And last but not least, if you are already in tech sales or you want to break into tech sales, use the link below to sign up for our free weekly newsletter where we are dropping actionable sales insights into your inbox every single Sunday. All right, with that said, guys, hope you enjoy the content, and I will catch you all in the next video. Take it easy now.